Jim, he was everything to a lot of folk, myself included. He was my boss, he was my coach, he was my second father. And then he turned into one of my best friends, to be honest with you, Jim. And the loss is absolutely incredible, to tell you the truth. However, I'm saying the good thing is he's not in pain, because we went to see Walter recently and we spoke to Walter on Saturday, was going to go and see him on Sunday, clearly was too unwell. And we knew that sadly there's a inevitability about this horrible illness, and we did know that it would be only a matter of time. However, it still does not take away the pain or the grief. And at this moment in time, all I can think about is Ethel, Neil and Stephen, and those grandkids. All Walter would have wanted was another few years to go and watch those grandkids playing football and spend a lot of time with Jessica and them all. And sadly, that's the most painful thing for me right now. I mean, I could sit here and tell you about Walter Smith till the cows come home, about how good a manager, how good a coach, how good a football man he was. But I think it's only fair to say, I think I can safely say he was probably the best husband, the best father, the best friend, everything you'd expect in a man. And it's a tragedy. I can't tell you how devastated, absolutely devastated. He's the best, wasn't he? I mean, by some considerable distance, for me. I was lucky enough to play under him I was 17 when I first played under him with the Scottish youth team. I was 17 years of age, and in Monte Carlo, I can still remember locking him out in the balcony in Monte Carlo as a 17-year-old boy, and him giving me that look, and I let him in kind of quickly, I have to inform you. But he was just, when you say old school, if you'll allow me to say old school, because times have changed and times have moved on, and sometimes I do feel, in many cases, not all cases, but in many cases, we are just a little bit precious, all of us. But Walter, the one thing that Walter was, he was 100% honest and fair. Absolutely honest and fair. And if he said something to you, he wasn't saying it for effect, he was saying it for a reason, and he was saying it because it had to be said. And he was just the most genuine of men, with as I say, hard, fair, honest, absolutely wicked sense of humour.
Yeah.
Wicked sense of humour. And just brilliant to be around.
Loved his music, didn't he?
I loved his music.
Bon Jovi.
Bon Jovi. I remember I took him to AC/DC. He didn't know what AC/DC were all about. I said, right, come on you Alden, we're going to Hampden to see AC/DC. And boy did he enjoy that. Air guitars were out and everything. Angus Young was up on stage and he just absolutely loved it. It was just great to be. Loved his music. I mean, was not having me in the punk rock era at all. I mean, it was the Beatles in the 60s or nothing. That was the era to be alive. He loved his music, and really, really knowledgeable, Jim. Just fantastic company. We used to go away together and golf, and we used to take the girls away at Christmas for a couple of days, and there was music quizzes and sports quizzes and you name it. Just wonderful memories.
This man was loved by
everyone.
Hundreds of thousands of supporters around the world.
And across the divide, make no mistake about it. And when I say the divide, we love football rivalry. Everybody loves it, as long as it's taken the right way. My phone's just incredible just now with Celtic friends and supporters, and
yes,
he was just a football man, clearly a Rangers man, and along with Mr. Struth, probably the greatest manager of all time in the club's history. And it'll take a wee while to sink in. I just, I knew it was coming. A sore loser, but appreciated losing, was part of the game and handled it all with so much dignity and class. Some of the happiest times ever we had. And, as I say, unbelievably intelligent man. When he got the Scotland job, he appointed myself and the late great Tommy Burns as his assistants.
Yes.
And it was a brilliant move, because straight away Tam, who was a great person to be around as well, and the biggest Celtic man you'd ever meet in your life, it grabbed the whole imagination of the country. Obviously Celtic man and a Rangers man, running the country, running the football team in the country. it was just special times, and as I say, quality. Knew what was required and when it was required, whether it was a pat in the back, a little G up, a cuddle. He was just a proper human being.
Your phone, I can see, is in meltdown at the moment. So is mine. Graham Souness, of course. Graham came to be player manager of Rangers, and Walter was his assistant. You remember those days? Remember the Blue Room at Ibrox?
Oh, incredible! Incredible. I mean,
city stopped.
There's so many people, and I know Graham.
He's just messaged me. Graham was just extremely upset.
Yeah, Graham was up seeing Walter, I think, at the weekend. I know he was up in Glasgow at the weekend. Graham
was he?
Yeah, I still obviously speak to Graham and see Graham. So
yeah,
it's just unbelievable. But the effect it's going to have, because the one thing I would say is there's been an awful lot of respect shown, understandably and correctly, to Walter during his illness. There's a lot of people were aware that Walter was very, very unwell, but thankfully and deservedly and correctly, he was deserved the privacy during this illness. And as I say, I'm just thinking about Ethel and and Neil and Stephen and the grandkids, because rightly the history books will tell us how good Walter was as a manager and a coach, and that's there. That's all the things that we understand and we appreciate and we love him for. But I'll tell you right now, what a friend, what a pal, what a boss, what a husband, what a grandfather, what a dad. That's the message that this morning we should all be thinking about. These guys in Ethel have lost somebody so close to them, so special to them, and I just send them my love, and I can feel their pain.
You won Rangers so many games, Ali. Is there one moment that Walter came to you and you thought, "Jeez, this guy's a class apart"?
No, it's probably a light-hearted one, Jim, because I don't want to. I'm upset, obviously, and I've got so many memories of Walter, brilliant memories, phenomenal memories of the man. And I'm not just talking about football. I'm talking about in the golf course at Turnberry, at Loch Lomond, all these kind of things. Having a glass of red, sitting having a glass of red and a bowl of pasta. The best. I just used to listen and just absorb and take it all in. But I remember in Fiorentina and Florence, we played Fiorentina in the semi-final of the Europa League in 2008, and it went to penalties. And we Nacho was going up to take a penalty, and he turned to me and he said, "What's the score?" Right? He didn't know the score of the penalties, and I looked at him as if I thought he was winding me up. I said, "Gaffer," I said, "if you don't know the score, if this ball hits the back of the net, you're about to find out the score." And of course, Nacho stuck the penalty away, and unbelievable. And the two of us were hugging, and it was a memory that I'll never ever forget. I mean, there's so many, Jim. I couldn't even begin to tell you, but just a proper man. I mean, he gave me the captaincy at Rangers when Big Goffey was injured. I mean, when was the last time a centre forward of the Rangers was given the captaincy? Just absolutely unbelievable human being.